After having the last 2 days off, the Carolina Hurricanes are back to wrap up their homestand. And something about playing Detroit just feels oh so right.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hawkers. Also do some AHL coverage over at the Calder Times. Even doing some baseball content at Covering the Corner. I am also the co-host of the Searchcast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a fun Friday edition for the show as we get to have some updates on Dmitry Orlov and Andrei Svechnikov. What are the practice lines looking like on Thursday as well? Going to preview the Hurricanes' final game of the homestand against the Detroit Red Wings on Friday night, and we even get a post-practice press conference with Rod Brind'Amour. But before we jump into all of that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Now, the Carolina Hurricanes played, not really played. They've been off the last couple of days, but they finally had a practice on Thursday, and we did get some updates on Andrei Svechnikov and Dmitry Orlov. Dmitry Orlov has missed the last few games due to an upper body injury. Per Rod Brind'Amour, he might have a good chance of returning to the lineup against the Detroit Red Wings. It's not confirmed, but there's a possibility that he could be ready to go. Now, Andrei Svechnikov, that's a different story. With an undisclosed injury, we saw him get kind of banged up against the Winnipeg Jets. Not really sure what the problem is. He was in street clothes at practice on Thursday. He is, according to what Rod's saying, is feeling better, but he is doubtful to play against the Detroit Red Wings. So that means we're without Andrei Svechnikov for the second game in a row. And, the Hurricanes went into practice on Thursday, doing some different line combos. And this is kind of what we saw, at practice. So you have Jackson Blake, Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis on the first line. Taylor Hall, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and Jack Roslovic. Then you had Jordan Martinook with Jordan Staal and Logan Stankoven. And then it's Eric Robinson, Mark Jankowski, and Tyson Jost as your forward cores. And then it's Slavin Burns, Gostisbehere Chatfield, Walker Morrow, with Orlov kind of filling in as the seventh D man. I will say the Walker-Morrow combo has been doing pretty well for the Carolina Hurricanes for the last couple of games since Orlov's been out. And I'm totally not upset by that combo being together, or Gostisbehere Chatfield. They've been working really well together. Now, as Walt Ruff always says, don't ever take who's in their starter crease as the end-all, be-all. It was Anderson with Kochekov in the other net, of course, with Pieter playing in the last game for the Carolina Hurricanes. But we'll do the preview in the second part of the show. But that's kind of what you're looking at. Overall, not upset at all for the fact you got Blake with Aho and Jarvis as a great, fast, speedy bunch of go-getters to get the puck on that first line. Hall and Roslovic have been playing well together, especially with Kotkaniemi. Look at Stankoven. I mean, that's just the line that's going to bully almost everyone, because you got Jordan Martinook and Jordan Staal, who are, big guys, obviously not afraid to go get the puck and not afraid to hit people. And even Logan Stankoven, all of 5'8", also not afraid to put, his body on the line and actually knock some, people down as well. So don't underestimate his 5'8". Now, these were the power play lines according to Walt Ruff. There was a little bit of a switch up with Stankoven and Jackson Blake. So power play 1, Aho, Blake, and Hall with Jarvis and Shane Gostisbehere. And then power play 2 is Kotkaniemi, Roslovic, Stankoven, with Burns and Walker. So you got 2 defensemen on PP2, of course, with Bretton Burns there, and of course Sean Walker. But honestly, though, when you got Aho, Blake, Hall, Jarvis, and Ghost, that's a really solid first power play in it. I'm really curious to see how those guys are going to do very well together since Svechnikov is still out. Taylor Hall, not a bad pick to be in PP1, especially with Blake. I mean, let's be honest too. Jarvis Aho, it just makes sense, and you can always Shane Gostisbehere, he has to be the power play one guy. So that's kind of what you're looking at in terms of the lines. Where are we looking at possibly going into the game on Friday against the Detroit Red Wings? Now, subject to change, of course, depending on if Orlov is ready to go. And it's unfortunate that he's out. It stinks that, he's been out for a little bit, missed the last few games. But, next man up mentality, and Scott Morrow has done pretty well for the Carolina Hurricanes. Finally got his first NHL point on the Mark Jankowski goal. That was the first one against the Jets. You love to see that. But, Svech being out again, hopefully it's not long-term. Hopefully we get an update soon of what the injury could be, or if it's just upper body or lower body, and is there a timeline? So, yeah, it's just unfortunate circumstances. You just get right past the deadline. The team's clicking. You won 5 straight games, but Andrei Svechnikov, missed the last one, and you're just kind of like, all right, how much longer it's going to be. So, I mean, at least we got some updates. It's not the greatest of updates of, yeah, you might have Orlov back, which is good, but Svech, who really knows? He's going to be doubtful. I would not be surprised if you don't see him until the California trip, because if he's still doubtful for tomorrow against Detroit, I don't know how ready he's going to be for the back-to-back against Philadelphia. So, if anything, if it was me, or I think this is how the Hurricanes are going to play, is, hey, you got the back-to-back on Friday, Saturday with Detroit and Philadelphia. You got 4 days off, and then you're in California for 3 games in 4 days. At this point, just have him rest for the back-to-back, and give him the extra 4 days off to travel to California and see where Svech is at that point, get him ready for the California games. Because there's no really reason to rush him back. You're on a 5-game winning streak. These next 2 games are very, very winnable between Detroit and Philadelphia. I don't see why you have to rush him back so fast. Like I said, the team is rolling. Give him the extra 2 games of rest. Give him the extra 4 days after that too, and travel with the team to California and see where he's at for that one. Because, like I said, there's really no point in rushing him. It's just if you're looking to keep him healthy for the rest of the stretch run, because after this weekend you're down to 15 games left in the regular season. You want Svech to get back to 100% and get ready for the last 15 games, including this California trip, and then you got the playoffs. It's better just to, be cautious and just, see where everyone's at by the time they get out to California. So I don't know, but at least we're getting an update on Orlov that he could potentially be back against Detroit. So that'd be very interesting to see how that works out. Overall, I like the lines. I mean, like I said, subject to change probably for the defense side of things. I don't know about the offense. Maybe they might change something up a little bit. Who really knows? But I mean, Blake, Aho, Jarvis, not a bad first line. You got the Jordans with Stankoven. That really works too. Taylor Hall has been absolutely great. So you got him with, KK and Roslovic. And even that fourth line of Jankowski, Joseph, and Robinson, that is a very speedy, big boy lines right there too. So it would definitely be interesting how the Carolina Hurricanes do against the Detroit Red Wings. But like I said, at least we're getting some updates. We're not sure exactly how long those are going to be. Then we saw some of the lines, how that was going to work out. So now it's the next step for the Hurricanes is to wrap up this 4-game homestand. Like I said, they're on a 5-game winning streak. They've won the last 3 at home. You've already beaten Detroit already. Of course, it was a 2-1 game, but the score, I mean, the Hurricanes played a very dominant game. It was just Alex the Lion doing Alex Lion things. But, what else should Hurricanes fans look out for, and what should we hopefully expect when the Canes play on Friday night against Detroit to wrap up the, last game of the homestand before they go to Philadelphia, and then it's off to California. So stick around as we will preview the Hurricanes against the Detroit Red Wings here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. If you're like me, your mornings have to start with a good cup of coffee, but I got tired of selling for grocery store brands that just weren't cutting it. That's why I turned to Trade, and let me tell you, this coffee is next level. Trade is the #1 specialty coffee marketplace in the U.S., bringing you fresh coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Their experts have taste-tested thousands of coffees, curating over 450 amazing roasts, whether you're new to coffee or know exactly what you like, and they'll handpick the perfect match for you. The one thing I really like the best is the fact that I actually tried out from Atomic. It was the Atomic Coffee Company, and theirs was the Space Cadet. It's got nutmeg. It's got a few different, different flavors as well. And honestly, it was really, really good. Got some grounds, made with, normal coffee pot, add some little bit of creamer to it, and honestly, the Space Cadet from Atomic, absolutely phenomenal. I would 100% recommend this one. And right now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 40% off your first order at drinktrade.com/LockedOnAHL. That's drinktrade, TRADE.com/LockedOnAHL for 40% off your first order. Once again, drinktrade.com/LockedOnNHL. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. So visit FanDuel.com and get into college hoops action all tournament long. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Now, the Carolina Hurricanes, like I said, are playing the Detroit Red Wings to finish off the 4-game homestand. It's going to be on FanDuel Sportsnet South. 7 o'clock p.m. For the puck drop, the Red Wings 31-28-6. Your Carolina Hurricanes are 39-22-4 on a 5-game winning streak. Last time these two teams played was on March 4th, with Carolina winning 2-1. This is their second meeting of 3, and then they are back once again on April 4th in Detroit to finish up the regular season series. Now, what are we looking at in terms of points, goals, assists, all that stuff? Well, Patrick Kane, 7 points, leads the Detroit Red Wings with Spashinaho with 4. Goals, Dylan Larkin with 3, Seth Jarvis with 3, and then it's Lucas Raymond with 5 assists and Sebastian Aho with 2 assists. Now, over the last 10 games, definitely a different tale of two stories for both of these teams. Detroit fighting really hard for a wild card spot. They're 3-6-1 in their last 10, which does include a 6-game losing streak that, lost back-to-back against the Jackets. Of course, that one that they played in Carolina, back in Detroit, lost to Utah, Washington, Ottawa, but they just recently beat Buffalo. But they are in a dire run right now where they did win one finally, but they had a bad stretch of games, and it's definitely put them in a tight spot when it comes to the wild card situation. Now with your Carolina Hurricanes, they are 7-3-0 in their last 10, including a 5-game winning streak. Of course, we know with Calgary in overtime, Detroit, Boston, Winnipeg, and then Tampa. Before that, did lose that game to Edmonton, almost came back on. Did beat Buffalo for the rematch game, and then, of course, we don't really want to talk about that mini Canada trip right after 4 Nations. That was just not fun. But overall, though, you got to love the last 5-game winning streak the Carolina Hurricanes are on. Now, tail of the tape, what are we looking at? Well, it's one of the things we're going to talk about all the time is special teams. Detroit, third power play in the NHL, 28.9%, but the Carolina Hurricanes still have the second best penalty kill at 84.2%, but they also have the power kill because, obviously, Seth Jarvis in the last game got a shorty on Vasilevsky, absolutely disgusting type of goal. You love to see it for him. So that's definitely going to be a huge one of, stay out of the box, but if you do, you really have to shut down the Red Wings power play, which they did last time. Now, in terms of the power play, Hurricanes are still really free fall. Now they're 26 in the AHL at 18.2%. They are still struggling mightily on their power play. Hopefully this new line combo works out with PP1 having Aho with Blake, Hall, Jarvis, and Gostisbehere. We'll see how that works. But the one thing for them is the Detroit Red Wings have the worst penalty kill in the NHL at 69.5%. Now, goals for, goals against. This is where it's really in the favor of the Hurricanes, and hopefully they keep this run they've been on, because we've seen 60 minutes of Hurricanes hockey against the first team in the AHL, Winnipeg Jets, and the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are very, very good. And you put up 4 goals on you put 3 goals on Andrei Vasilevsky. But Hurricanes, 11th in the NHL in goals for at 3.2, and they're also 6th in the NHL for goals allowed at 2.68. Now for Detroit, 2.86 goals for, which is 18th, but they've allowed an average of 3.8 for 23rd. So if you're the Hurricanes, if you play your full 60 minutes of hockey like you did to Detroit when you were in the Motor City, and how you've been playing against the Jets and also the Tampa Bay Lightning, I don't see why this is not a winnable game against a team who's, like I said, have lost 6 of their last 10, and they did that in a 6-game losing streak. And honestly, they're 18th in scoring across the league overall, and you allow the 6th lowest amount. Plus, you're near top 10 in goals for yourself, while Detroit gives up a lot of goals. So this is where, if you play that full 60 minutes of Hurricanes hockey, I guess for me, this is a winnable game to where you go on a 6-game winning streak, you end the homestand with a 4-0 run. Then you have Philadelphia, then you go out to California. You're not going to be home for over a week. So this is a perfect opportunity to send Hurricanes fans home happy and then have them, wait for you to get back after going to Philly Saturday and then going out to California. So this is where special teams is going to be very big, and also where 6 minutes of Hurricanes hockey is going to be very, very vital for this team, especially when you're, like I said, ready to go on the road. Now, looking at the goaltender situation, Cam Talbot, 17-5-3 with a 2.96 goals against and a 901 save percentage and 2 shutouts. Of course, we all know how Alex Lyon has been playing for Detroit as well, and that's definitely someone that the Hurricanes are definitely going to have to keep an eye on. 11-8-1 with a 900 save percentage and 277 goals allowed. They did just recently also got Pierre Mrazek for whatever reason, 11-19-2 with an 890 save percentage and a 344 against. I'm not really sure who Detroit's going to go with, so that's definitely one where it's kind of a question mark of like they might be going with someone, so we're really curious to see how that works out. Now, on the flip side of that, Pyotr Kochetkov did play against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Got his 24th win of the season, new career high, 24-11-3 with a 243 goals against and a 905 save percentage. Above league average save percentage-wise, a sub 2.5, 24 wins. What more can you ask from the Russian netminder? Now, Frederik Andersen, 8-5-0 with a 217 goals against, a 911 save percentage, and a shutout. So, obviously, as I've been saying for a while, Hurricanes goaltending has been really good, and they weren't really the problem this year. Now, as they've been doing the switch on-off between the two goalies, since we saw Piotr play on Tuesday against the Tampa Bay Lightning, Tuesday. It's weird having those 2 days off. So most likely it's going to be Frederik Andersen against Detroit, and then, of course, Saturday it's probably going to be Pyotr Kochetkov against the Philadelphia Flyers because of the fact that it's a back-to-back. So I could probably see why that might be the case of them doing that type of situation where it's Andersen followed by Kochetkov on that home and road back-to-back type deal. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, just because of the fact, like I said, they've been switching the goalies back and forth. It only makes sense that it's Andersen. Detroit, who really knows who they're going to be playing in net? Now, who are the Canes players to watch in this game? Obviously, Seth Jarvis, 3 straight games with a goal, 49 points, 26 goals. He's he's getting closer to another 30-goal season, 1 point off from 50. Obviously, got to be Jarvis. Like, he's absolutely rolling right now. Are we looking at 4 goals in 4 straight games and all of them at home? You would love to see that for him. I could definitely see him having a great game overall. And, you have to look at, the defense and how they're going to do. Jacob Slavin doing Jacob Slavin things. I'm really excited to see, Shane Gostisbehere as well going against the team that he played for last year. 35 points, 7 goals, 28 assists. I would not be surprised if we see a Shane Gostisbehere goal just because it would just be perfect to see him do one against the team he just played. And of course, Jacob Slavin, 23 points, 6 goals, 17 assists. Hey, how about a couple assists for Slavo and he goes up to 25 points? That would be great to see. But overall, definitely want to keep an eye on Jacob Slavin shutting down Patrick Kane, Dylan Larkin, Alex DeBrincat, on those guys, and then Shane Gostisbehere doing Shane Gostisbehere-like stuff. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Like I said, special teams always going to be key. Stay out of the box. Take advantage of when you can. hey, if you have to, bring out the power kill, because why not? Full 60 minutes of Hurricane cycling like we've seen recently. Start early, get on time, get the crowd going. End it on a good win. 6-game winning streak before you go on the road. Have a perfect homestand in front of the Kings before you're gone for over the next week. So Rod Brind'Amour did have a post-practice press conference with the media, so we'll listen to that. So stick around as we'll jump into all that here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Like I said, Rod Brind'Amour had a post-practice press conference with the media. So without further ado, let's jump into that right now.
Just want to ask, any update on Svechnikov and getting out there?
No, he was out there in street clothes today. He said he's feeling better, but obviously he's not ready to go.
So you don't think he'll be able to play tomorrow?
I doubt it.
Could this be a long-term thing, or do you think it's more of a...
I didn't anticipate it to be, so I'm same with Orly. Orly kind of practiced today, so but I think Orly has a better chance to play in.
It seems like this year you've had a little bit of... We talked the other day about the defense have been mostly the same pairings, but the forwards have been jumbled around quite a bit. Have you had a little difficulty finding good matches, especially for Sebastian on the top line and finding good
that
chemistry?
line needs to always be dynamic, so you're looking to, you expect a lot out of that group. And then we've had injuries, and, it feels like not a lot of consistency with that, but I don't know. I think in general, now we've got a couple new players, so you're trying to find that fit for everyone. I think we kind of know there's pairs that we know are pretty solid. We've kept those together for most of it. But, yeah, you're always looking to, how do we get our top guys producing at a high rate? So that's kind of why you see the lines move around a little bit.
I know you're not concerned with who's not here, but is that an area where maybe you miss Turbo a bit? Is because you always talk about, I know this works, that you haven't had that. Other than Jarvis,
really.
It seems like
the last couple of years, Turbo and Fishy weren't that good. They had their moments, but they didn't really, produce a heck of a lot together. So, that's part of it. It's just trying to find. I think Jarvie and Fishy are a good pair together. But when Svesh is out, that made it a little tougher. So you just, like I said, we're searching for it a little bit. Blake got a crack the other night. That looked pretty good. It's also pretty small, so you gotta think about all these things.
I was going to ask you about that. Is the size of that line? All three of them play bigger than they are.
There's
right?
There's small lines in the league. I mean Detroit has one. Here you're going to see tomorrow. They got Kane and DeBrincat together, and they're not the biggest guys, but it's one of the most dangerous lines around. So even the other night with Tampa, you just look at their top line, one of the best in the league, if not the best, and they're not overly big guys, so it can work.
Kind of on that note, kind of something that's always noticed is that your team's kind of usually on the lower end of hits, kind of around the league, but it seems like stick work is a really big pivotal point. Is there a philosophy kind of difference with that between maybe other teams in the league who feel
I can't speak for other teams, but we want puck pressure, and the best way to do it is get your stick on the pucks and then figure out the rest. And I think we it depends too. When we have different guys in the lineup, when Will's in there, it's a lot different. The hit numbers go up. When Svesh is in there, hit numbers go up. So, but our D are not overly running around hitting guys. They're in position.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that's how we're made. It's our makeup.
And you have the puck all the time too.
Well,
that makes part of it.
That's the other part about some stats you look at. You're lowest in that, or you're lowest in block shots. it's because we're also one of the lowest in shots. So what is that telling you? You know, like some teams have tons of block shots, they're way up there, but it's because they're in their end a little more.
Jack Roslovic's gotten 20 now in his first season with the team. What's allowed him to obtain that production here?
Well, he was hot early, and what I think he's a very skilled player, and he's got a great wrist shot. And you know, like I said, everything went in at the start of the year, and that was great. And then he went kind of a little bit cold, but he's always a threat. Like when he gets it around the net, he's got the ability. Like he did the other night, it's on a stick, off a stick. That's a kind of underrated skill that no one really talks about, but he's got the ability to do that.
Big thank you to Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes as always. And yeah, you kind of hear from him when it comes to the Orlov and Svechnikov type of deal, where it's like they didn't really expect Orlov to be out for as long as he is, and same thing for Svech. And goes into, you know, how are you figuring out the lines? You know, the four lines have getting jumbled up recently. And for Rod, it's easy. It's, you know, you've got two new guys that you brought in with Jankowski and Stakov, and you're kind of figuring out where do you place them in the lineup, because, you know, you got to find matchings that help them out. Plus with Svech out, you know, now you got to figure out who's on that top line. And it's just one of those things where, you know, you got to get that first line going. You know, with, you know, Aho and, you know, whoever else is on his wings. And, you know, of course, it was kind of brought up with like, oh, you know, you had Timo Teravainen at one point, and Rod's like, yeah, they were okay. But the last couple of years, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't that default, hey, let's get this line going. Let's put those two together. Wasn't really being what it was initially when, you know, they were first really working well together. But as of late, you know, it's Aho Jarvis, and it kind of makes sense because you see how good they do on the penalty kill, and, you know, they have a good chemistry on that first line. It's just unfortunate with Svech out. Now you have to rejumble again, and that's why you see Jackson Blake up there. So it's just one of those things of trying to find the right combination with the new guys of Jankowski, Stankov, and of course then you have to look at, you know, you got to deal with some injuries, and now you have to, with no Svechnikov, who are you going to throw on that left wing? So now it's, you know, you had possibly Taylor Hall, and then you got Jackson Blake. You see, you know, is there a different combination where you see maybe an Eric Robinson or a just Roslovic go up there, or do you see Stankov go up there? It's just trying to figure out what's what. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how it works out. And even talking about Roslovic, you know, they asking, you know, the fact that he scores 20th goal of the season for the Hurricanes as of late. You know, and Rod talks about it. Yeah, he had a really hot start, kind of cooled off a little bit, but he's someone who's making chances. In the fact that his underrated skill is the fact that he's really quick with the stick. You know, doesn't hold the puck very long, but just finds a way to get it, shoot it, and it's pretty fast. And, you know, talk about an underrated thing. And yeah, I think that's one thing too when it comes to the Hurricanes is there's a lot of, and that's why a lot of people call them analytical darlings, because of the fact they, you know, puck possession, stick lift, stick play. They're not going to hit anyone. They're not like these other teams who hit a lot, but, you know, they have a lot of great stick work, great defensive structure. That's why all the analytical underlying numbers that you don't really see on a normal score sheet are there for the Canes compared to other teams. So that's the thing with Jack Roslovic is he's got the underlying number of, you know, that skill of you get the puck, it's off his stick pretty quick. He's not holding on to it. He's not giving it away very much. He's doing the right things necessary. So it's just a lot of different things going on there now, trying to figure out lines, you know, certain guys, you know, clicking at the right time and stuff like that. So it's one of those things right now that you're trying to wrap up a homestand. You got Philadelphia Saturday, then you got to California after 4 days off. So you have a lot of stuff to kind of figure out, because once Friday, Saturday is over, you're down to 15 games left in the regular season, and before you know it's going to be the 2025 AHL playoffs. But it'll definitely be interesting to see how Friday goes against Detroit, and then obviously how it's going to go on Saturday in Philadelphia. For that, before they have 4 days off, and like I said, go out to California. But guys, that will wrap up a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen of the day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On NHL Podcast, bringing you the daily league white stories that matter with the local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at OneTrueZach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky at the Zachary Murn. I have link trees in both my bios where you can find all my articles, especially for the Hurricanes, at thehockeywriters.com. If you want to check out my AHL coverage, it's over at thecaldertimes.com. Let's say you want to check out some of my baseball content. Well, it's at coveringthecorner.com, at SB Nation covering about the Cleveland Guardians. If you want to check out my other podcast, it is the Search Cast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For Locked On Hurricanes, well, it's Google, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio. Leave a 5-star rating and review. I will make sure to read it on the show and make sure to follow and subscribe. For YouTube, well, Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up to let me know if you like the show as well. Share it with all their Caniacs so that we become everydayers just like you. But hope everyone enjoyed the Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Enjoy your Friday and enjoy your weekend. And obviously have fun watching your Carolina Hurricanes take on the Detroit Red Wings. But until next time, as always, let's go Canes.